My name is Clara, and I have a confession to make. A confession that will shatter every perception you might have of me. I am a wife, a mother, a teacher, and a sinner. It's ironic, isn't it? Someone who teaches children the virtues of honesty and integrity, yet hides behind a veil of deceit. It began 2 years ago on a quiet December evening. My husband Daniel was late. Again. He was always late, tied up with work, glued to his phone or lost in his spreadsheets. I used to admire his dedication, but over the years, it became a wall between us. That evening, I sat alone by the fireplace, nursing a glass of wine when the first text arrived. "Hi Claire. Hope I'm not interrupting your evening. Just wanted to check in." It was Ethan, a former student of mine from years ago. He was no longer the boy I remembered, but a young man now. A journalist with a sharp wit and an undeniable charm. We'd reconnected briefly at a seminar 6 months earlier. Harmless pleasantries turned into sporadic texts. But that night something shifted. Ethan's message that night was a spark in the cold, dim routine my life had become. I stared at his words, hesitated, and then replied, "Not interrupting at all. It's been a quiet evening." From there, our conversation flowed effortlessly. We talked about his latest article, a daring exposé on local corruption, and my mundane challenges at school. But beneath the surface of our words, I felt something stirring. A sense of being seen, of being heard. The weeks that followed brought more texts, late-night conversations, and an emotional intimacy I hadn't realized I craved. Daniel, ever distracted, didn't notice my growing preoccupation with my phone or the subtle changes in my demeanor. Ethan, on the other hand, noticed everything. He asked about my favorite books, my childhood dreams, the small quirks even I had forgotten. And then one rainy Friday afternoon he asked if we could meet for coffee. It wasn't an affair, at least not yet. That's what I told myself as I applied a touch of lipstick before leaving the house. I chose a simple dress, one that wouldn't attract attention but still made me feel confident. Ethan was waiting at a cozy cafe downtown, his hair slightly damp from the rain, a shy smile playing on his lips. "Clara," he said, standing to greet me. "You look radiant." I laughed it off, but my cheeks burned. The conversation was easy, natural, and for the first time in years I felt alive. As we sipped our coffee, I realized how far I had drifted from the woman I once was. Ethan reminded me of her, a version of Clara who laughed freely, who wasn't weighed down by the monotony of married life. As we parted ways, he reached out and gently touched my hand. The spark was undeniable, and at that moment I knew I was teetering on the edge of something dangerous. Our dates became more frequent, though I justified them as innocent. A lunch here, a walk through the park there. But with each encounter the line blurred further. Ethan made me feel adored, something Daniel hadn't done in years. One evening, as Daniel worked late yet again, Ethan invited me to his apartment. I should have said no. I should have ignored the message, but instead I found myself standing outside his door, heart pounding, hands trembling. When he opened the door, he didn't say a word. He just looked at me with those piercing eyes, and in that moment, every ounce of guilt I felt was overshadowed by a longing I couldn't resist. I crossed the threshold. What followed was a whirlwind of passion and deceit. By day I was Clara, the devoted wife, the caring teacher. By night I was someone else entirely, tangled in a secret that consumed me. Ethan became my escape, my refuge from the emptiness I felt at home. But secrets have a way of unraveling, don't they? It started with a forgotten scarf. He had left it in my car after a hurried goodbye. Daniel found it in my car the next morning. "This isn't yours," he said, holding it up. My heart raced as I fumbled for an explanation. "Oh, it's a colleague's. She left it in my car the other day." He seemed to accept the lie, but I saw the doubt flicker in his eyes. That doubt grew over the following weeks as I became more careless. Missed calls, vague excuses, an unfamiliar perfume lingering on my clothes. The night everything fell apart, Daniel confronted me as I came home late. His eyes, usually so distant, were filled with a mix of anger and pain. "Who is he?" he demanded. I tried to deny it, but the words caught in my throat. I had no defense, no alibi. Instead, I broke down, confessing everything in a flood of tears. "It wasn't supposed to happen," I whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you." Daniel didn't shout or curse. He just looked at me, his face pale and unreadable. "You destroyed us, Clara. You destroyed me." Now I sit here alone penning this confession. Daniel filed for divorce and Ethan, well, he moved on. Our affair, intense as it was, couldn't withstand the weight of my shattered life. I often wonder why I did it, why I risked everything for a fleeting escape. Perhaps it was loneliness, a craving for validation, or a desperate attempt to feel alive. But no excuse can erase the damage I caused. This is my story, my sin. And though I can never undo what I've done, I hope that by sharing it I can find some semblance of redemption.